Baby, you are gonna go broke showing turkeys like these.
Now we're talking turkey.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.
It's turkey time. Gobble, gobble.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Let's Talk Turkeys. I'm your host, Movie Miss, and my co-host, Drive-In Dave, is off this week. But have no fear, Nikki Flixx is here to discuss this amazing turkey with me this week. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I am so good, and I cannot wait to talk about this movie. I just watched it right before we got on. I just finished the movie roll credits, so I'm so ready.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I watched it 3 times in preparation for today, but of course, we've seen it hundreds of times, I'm sure, collectively.
Definitely.
So we are discussing the turkey Transylvania 65000 from 1985. And I will just note that in season 1, when this idea was first started and Nikki and I were first getting this rolled out, we did try recording an episode on this, and for some reason the audio was just garbage and it did not work out. So we thought we should revisit it now that we've got all this stuff figured out. But I'm glad we did, because like we were just discussing off mic, a couple of new things occurred to me that never have before. So this ought to be interesting.
I'm not sure what else I can possibly glean from watching this movie for the 500th time, but every time I watch it, I'm tickled. That's the only word. Like I giggle throughout the whole movie every time. So I am never mad about rewatching this movie.
Yeah. Like I said, it came out in 85. We were both younger. So do you want to talk about the first time you saw this and the impression it's had with you? I don't know, over
I honestly,
the years with rewatches and stuff?
I am not sure when and how I first saw this, but I know it was in the late 80s. So I had to be 10 years old.
On VHS.
On VHS. We probably saw the cover and went, ooh, spooky. And it was only rated PG, I think.
Correct.
So our parents were like, yeah, sure. And we were off, and our obsession with this movie began. Me and our little sister watched this movie religiously. It was one in our rotating pool of movies that we would consistently rent and rewatch. It was just so silly and fun, and I just love it. And over the years, as I got older, anytime it would pop up on cable or it would kind of resurface somewhere on DVD, I would see it at Blockbuster. Yep. And then finally bought a copy. It's one that I've shown to people when I need them to understand me. Like many of the turkeys that we have covered that are like gems in our little universe, but other people don't know. It's one that I quote so many times, and I quoted it to my now husband, and he knew what I was quoting. And it was one of the reasons why I went, yep, you're my lobster for sure, because he knew this movie and was like, oh, I love that movie. I used to watch it all the time as a kid. My kids are 23 years old and they love this movie and think it's hilarious too.
It started my lifelong obsession with Jeff Goldblum and monsters, because right. PG-13, like you said, and you were real young watching it, it's that gateway movie where the monsters aren't scary.
Right. I put this one up there with the Monster Squad. These 2 movies we used to watch over and over again, and they are definitely right up there as far as my love of monsters. This was yeah, you're right. It's a gateway into that genre.
And critics didn't love it.
No.
It's a turkey, 18% critics and 41 audiences on Rotten Tomato. I think with the renaissance on Goldblum, I call it the Goldblumaissance, that's been happening in the last 15 years or so, where he's just everywhere. I think it's time people go back and rediscover some of these fun, crazy, weird movies he did. He did Vibes with Cyndi Lauper, which was zany like this one.
Okay, I love your just one of the guys pronunciation. Cyndi Lauper. I recently rewatched that movie too. Because we were talking about doing this, I went, you know what other stinkers from the 80s do I remember Goldblum doing? That's one of them. Rewatched it, and ooh, yeah, that's an interesting little film. But yeah, he's sort of become this unironic sex symbol to a much younger generation. And so yeah, hopefully they're all going to go back and start discovering all this weird shit that he was doing in the 80s.
Oh, Earth Girls Are Easy with Gina Davis.
Right?
Everybody knows The Fly. I mean, come on. That's like peak Goldblum, in my opinion.
Well, that's just because you get naked Goldblum. So come on, own up.
That's peak. Piqued my interest anyway. So we've got Transylvania 65000 written and directed by Rudy DeLuca, who wrote a lot with Mel Brooks. Researching that, it kind of clicked in my head, the weird humor in this movie.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a definite Mel Brooks vibe that I get from I call it the has nothing to do with nothing out of context humor. The little random moments that make no sense, come out of nowhere, and are not serving the story. They're just totally random and out of context. That's one of my favorite subgenres of comedy. And this movie has it. And it's kind of a Mel Brooks vibe. I can see that.
And then he also was a budding actor. He wanted to be an actor, so he does appear in this film, and we'll mention him when he pops up. So it was filmed in Yugoslavia because apparently, this is some trivia I found. Production, they got fronted the $3 million budget in Yugoslavian dollars in purchasing some product or service in Yugoslavia, and it had the currency was in Yugoslavian, and they wouldn't convert it. But they were like, you can have this budget, but you have to use it here in Yugoslavia and spend our money here. So Rudy went, okay.
So this movie was held hostage? Interesting. That makes sense.
I feel like, though, it worked out because the vibe is perfect. The scenery, the locations.
Agreed. One of the things that strikes me now watching this movie is exactly what you said, the locations that they shot at. It's all very real and interesting and authentic, and you can't duplicate that on a set or a soundstage. So it turned out to be a blessing, I think.
Oh, totally. They did have to rush, though. They only had 30 days to shoot it, but I don't feel like you can tell. So box office, it did 7.1 million US and Canada combined. I was surprised by that.
I think probably Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, that was probably the draw. They were both pretty hot in the mid 80s. So I think a lot of people probably went to the movie and some of them might have walked out mid-movie going, what is this? I don't understand. What is with the doll and the guy and the thing and it's a very it's a very off-putting movie. So I can see why it didn't quite find its audience.
A lot in the trivia was saying that a lot of the script and scenes were improvised, and especially the kitchen scene and almost everything with Michael Richards. And I have to say, that makes complete sense to me. I don't doubt that one bit because these are all very talented physical comedic actors.
It shows. You can tell when things are off the cuff buffoonery, and there are actors who know how to ad lib and be in the moment and roll with it, and there are actors who don't. I love him, but Jeff Goldblum can't keep a straight face when someone's off script. Ed Begley Jr., though, VIP, like it's so incredible the level of him being in the moment and not breaking at all and rolling with whatever absurdity is happening. Night and day difference between those two, but it's still so fun to watch. You can't help but giggle and laugh when you see Jeff Goldblum smiling because of something someone's doing. And you can tell that it's just comedy gold coming out of people's mouths that was not rehearsed. It shows, but in the best way.
So the one thing that I discovered this doing a movie, I don't remember what movie it was with Dave a while back. So I wanted to do this on this movie with you. In IMDb of all places, there's something called the Parent's Guide, and they give you tips on the different things that you could come across in this movie that might make it objectionable for young ones to watch. And they break it into categories. So I want to share some of these with you and see what you think. So Parent's Guide for Sex and Nudity was the longest list of all of them. They cite Gina Davis's character wears a low-cut one-piece outfit exposing her legs.
Yes, those legs are quite scandalous. Honestly, she's got a great pair of gams on her. I can't help but stare at her every time she's on screen. But apparently children shouldn't be aware that women have legs that go all the way up. I don't know.
Did they forget that outfit also reveals half of each of her breasts? But they mentioned the legs.
Yeah, that's okay because the legs.
Isn't that weird?
Well, that's because, the privileged men who worry about these things don't mind staring at boobs.
So the Parent's Guide also mentioned watch out for some mild sexual dialogue. We see the side of a woman's breasts. I guess that's what they're referring to, the Gina Davis outfit. They mention a couple having sex getting interrupted, but they are both clothed, so nothing is seen. Beware.
Right.
They mention The newspapers in the background of one shot have headlines talking about how aliens use humans for sex. What child is worrying about that?
I know I never thought about it. I never noticed it as a kid.
Right? And the last one to beware. Don't let your child see a woman's nipples visible through her shirt.
No. Well, they must be referring to the bazongas. Okay.
Yep. And then the other parents' guides, there was just one for each, and they're so funny. We have to watch out for alcohol, drugs, and smoking because there is some wine drinking.
Oh, there's a lot of wine and wine bottles. So they're worried about the fact that people are drinking the wine, not worried about the violence that ensues every time Elizabeth is near a wine bottle. Okay, gotcha.
And she even warns us that that's her issue.
Yes.
So the violence cited in this movie is not that. It is some tame comic violence.
Smashing somebody over the head with a bottle of wine to break somebody out of jail is okay.
So weird.
Yeah.
Parents Guide, last two, they say there is fright and intensity during any fright scene, but it is played for laughs. A fright scene. I guess they're supposed to figure that out for themselves.
So apparently it's not good for children to be aware that sometimes people are afraid. Okay, got it. Got it.
And the last one is watch out for profanity, parents, because shit gets said one time.
I'd be more worried about my child learning and repeating the word schmohawk than I would shit. Just gotta say.
How many times I've used that word in my life. Thank you, Transylvania 650.
Oh, me too. Yeah, for sure.
All right, top billed cast. We've got Jeff Goldblum, Ed Begley Jr., Joseph Bologna, not looking very bloated, Carol Kane, and Jeffrey Jones. And we can get to everybody else as we go. The IMDb plot. I watched the trailer for this, by the way, because I've been putting trailers, in episodes lately. It is so weird, the trailer. It doesn't tell you what you're getting when you watch this movie at all. It misrepresents the movie.
It began as a routine assignment.
Transylvania.
Where is that?
I don't know. It's over there someplace.
But beneath the surface
Transylvania's cute. Cute.
of this happy land, horror awaits them.
I'm investigating Frankenstein.
You mean the monster?
And a terrible secret lurks in the shadows.
I'm terribly sorry. We thought you were an animal.
He is.
Now they're discovering the truth
Did you see Dracula?
Yeah, when it first came out.
about the creatures of the night.
Shut up, you lowlife.
I am low. I'm low.
The curse of the undead.
Did you want to hurt me?
Hurt you? No. Bite you?
The terror of the full moon. And the monster that science created,
Full house.
but could not destroy.
Does this hurt? Does this hurt? Good. Everything hurts.
Jeff Goldblum, Ed Begley Jr.,
Hi, ladies.
Joseph Bologna, and Gina Davis
Tell me you want me too.
for a good time called
Transylvania 65000.
So let's see what they say for the plot. Two tabloid reporters are sent to Transylvania to find the Frankenstein monster or get fired. They are laughed out of there, but something suspicious is going on.
Okay. I feel like a 10-year-old is writing a book report based on this movie. I'm a little confused by it, but I mean, he ain't wrong. That is accurate. It's worded a little oddly.
Yes, I feel like that's another one we need to add to the list to go in and correct.
Right? Something has to be done about this.
All right, so let's jump in. Our movie begins with the beautiful, because this was on VHS, grainy looking New World Pictures logo, which always gives me goosebumps because I'm like, the 80s.
Right. Right up there with that Touchstone logo.
So I did have to look it up because I was curious about New World Pictures because they just kind of went away at one point. Roger Corman founded the distribution company in 1970, but then 20th Century Fox bought him out in 97. They put out so many movies under this, like The Brood, Slumber Party Massacre, House, Children of the Corn. I mean, if you go to the wiki page and look up New World Pictures, there are so many gems from the 80s and 90s that came out under this. I just miss it, I think, the nostalgia of it. So, credit and cast cards start to roll over a blank screen. And then we see this creepy looking, what to me looks like a stone tower of some kind, like maybe a lighthouse in the woods. It certainly doesn't look like a church or a chapel of any
Not
kind.
quite, but I mean, I haven't been to Eastern Europe very often, so I don't know. Maybe that's what churches used to look like. It certainly looks abandoned. It looks creepy. And I have to say, this opening is the first time I ever remember seeing something that resembles found footage in a movie. It's really interesting because it sets you up for something totally different than what the movie actually is. It's such a different vibe, but it immediately, I remember as a kid being captivated by the fact that I'm like watching somebody's home video and something weird's about to go down. That I think is responsible for my love of found footage movies is this opening scene intriguing me as a kid.
I never really thought of it that way. And you are 1,000% right. I'm the same way. I love found footage. This totally is that vibe. I mean, it is found footage because we see it's a tape that somebody's watching later. Yeah. Huh. Well, Blair Witch needs to credit Transylvania 65000 then.
There you go.
So we hear that a man is behind the camera videotaping this other man in front of this building, and he's talking to him. And he, for some reason, the man puts his arms up. He's standing in front of the door and he's like, "There's nobody here," or whatever he's saying. And then his hands are up so that perfectly timed arms can come right out under his armpits and pick him and the door up. It's so scary if you don't know what you're in for.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It kind of it's this slam bang opening that you just aren't prepared for because I'm here for a comedy with Jeff Goldblum. What is this?
Yep. So the camera gets dropped to the ground. We hear a creature growling. We see feet, and the men are running off. And one guy says, "Look, it's Frankenstein." Frankenstein. All right. And then we cut to some men in a newspaper office, and they're watching this on a tape. And this is Norman Fell, who people might know as Mr. Roper from Three's Company back in the 70s. I'm not sure what his last role was, but I don't think I've seen him in enough things because he's really good with comic timing as well, like being a straight face delivering a hilarious line.
Oh yeah, acting like he is above and over everybody's bullshit. That's definitely his niche, and yeah, so he's cast perfectly here. I kind of wish we had more time with him because yeah, he plays off these two wonderfully.
So my question though is, and this is one of those things that just occurred to me on this last rewatching. If they had the camera and the videotape in the camera and they dropped it and ran off, and they're in Eastern Europe, how did this tape get back to the US and into the hands of this tabloid reporter?
Don't ask silly questions like that. You're trying to introduce logic to an 80s movie about monsters. You stop
All
that right now. Some random tourist found it, saw what was on it, and had the genius idea to sell it to a tabloid. That's what I would probably do.
Yes, this tabloid, the sensation. Much like Weekly World News or the Inquirer.
Exactly. It's right up there with that Bat Boy and, the Crocodile Man and whatever.
So the headlines on some of the papers hanging in the background is one we mentioned. It's "Wet Dreams are alien creatures using your body for sex while you sleep." So this man asks two other men sitting in his office, and that's Goldblum and Begley, "What do you think of the video?" And Jeff Goldblum's character, Jack, you can see on his face, he's in complete disbelief that they're even discussing this at all as a real thing. And then Gil Begley, who is this man's son who works for him, says it's scary. He's smiling and nodding and like real excited about it. And this just shows you immediately who these people are. This is the gullible, happy, follow any story guy. And the dark-haired guy is the cynical, no thank you, I want to be a serious reporter guy.
One of my favorite moments in this scene is Jeff Goldblum saying he thought he was hired to raise the journalistic integrity. Norman Fell says, "No, I hired you to get the vocabulary level higher. We want the journalistic level very low." I love
It's
it.
so good. And Jack says, "Well, yeah, this is clearly fake news." And Norman Fell's character, his name is Mac. Mac says, "Well, you better think of something better, because this is the story you guys are going out on." Oh, and one of the other headlines that you can now see in the background when you shoot over to Jack is, "I was dead for a week and I liked it." So Mac says he's frustrated. Jack doesn't want to go out on the story. Jack says, "Well, you always twist my stories around." And he cites the example of women forced to work in a rope factory. And he changes the word to rape, Mac did. He's all, it was a typo, honest mistake, Clearly did it for the headline. So he's obsessed with crap, sells his papers. And Begley Gill is just like, "Yep, I'm a team player. I have no problem with crap." And Mac leaves the room, and Gill is standing there touching Jack, like kind of hand on his shoulder or something. And then Jack starts like poking him back. And he's all, "Don't do this." And he's the physical comedy in this movie, even the subtle stuff like this cracks me up.
Yeah, when he's telling him don't do this or this or this, and then he hits him on the forehead and he's like, especially this.
I don't do that. Well, in case you
I
think
don't
of
do
it.
Yeah. If you think of it, don't do it. He's very comedic sarcastic.
Yes. So Mac returns and he's got a handful of tickets that he gives both the men. He tells them they're taking planes, trains, buses. And where are they going? Transylvania.
But where's Transylvania?
I don't know. It's over there someplace.
I quote that all the time. Somebody asks me where something is. I don't know. It's over there someplace.
Yep. This movie gives a lot of quotable gems.
Yes, that, and then in this scene we also get the word schmohawk, which I have used so many times in my life.
Yes. You're going out on a Frankenstein story to Transylvania, is what the boss tells them. And Gil goes, "Frankenstein? I didn't think he was still alive."
He was never alive, schmohawk. It's like we are 2 minutes into the movie and I'm already like pausing it because I'm laughing so hard. If it's been a couple of years since I've seen it, I forget what order things happen in, so they still surprise me even though I know the script by heart. Yeah, that never fails to make me laugh every freaking time when he says he was never alive, because you're getting so quickly the relationship between these two and what a love-hate relationship they have and what polar opposites they are.
Totally. So he tells them, "You better go. I don't want to hear anything about it. You're going. And if you don't come back with a story, you're both fired." Gil goes, "You can't fire me. I'm your son."
And he says, "Prove it.
"Prove it." So as they're leaving, the boss yells, he wants them to come back with the headline, "Frankenstein lives." And it echoes through the halls, and we cut to title card over the image of a plane taking off on a stormy night.
I really thought when the movie opened that we were going to avoid the cheesy 80s montage opening credit with the theme song that has the name of the movie, and that I really thought we were going to avoid that. It seems so fresh and different, but oh no. Miniature train, and then the song. Who does this? What is this?
So Transylvania 65000, the song, which is a play on the 1940s swing jazz song by Glenn Miller, Pennsylvania 65000. So I had to look this up because I'm old, but I'm not that old. The telephone exchange system, way, 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 way back, had numbers and letters. When I read that, I went, how many old movies have I watched where they go, "Operator, get me Klondike 55239." It's like, okay, Klondike, KL, the number system. It clicked in my head. I was like, got it. Okay. So finally, we see a bus after all this travel montage, the Transylvania Trans bus line, arriving on a sunny, beautiful looking day in this cute, quaint little Eastern European town. So the credits and the music end as we see Jack and Gil exit the bus along with a slew of other tourists. They look around and remark how cute Transylvania is, all the bad weather they experienced as they passed through Rome, Paris, and Vienna was all bad weather, but here it's nice. And I thought for a second, wow, they had to travel all this crazy way through Italy and France and Austria. Like, Talk about a fucking trek just for a dumb little story for an Inquirer type paper. I feel like that really they wouldn't be sent out on that. And I got Children of the Corn 2 flashbacks. Like they're sending
Right.
tabloid reporters out on this shit.
Yeah, it does seem a little far-fetched, but if you're the owner of this paper and you're thinking there's a chance to find whatever this was on that video, are you going to send the photographer to go get pictures of Nessie? Probably. So yeah, you can see it.
That's true. He might think the payoff will be there.
Right.
So a blonde woman in obnoxiously large pre-Kardashian sunglasses exits the bus. Her little daughter, maybe, I'm terrible at this, 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 5, 6 years old, somewhere in there.
She exits the bus and kind of runs over to this flower stand. Jack wants to hit on this woman, so he tells Gil, go play with that little girl. No.
There are several running jokes in the movie that continue over and over again to great effect. And this is one of them that I love, which is Jack telling Gil to go do some things so that he can turn around and tell him to stop it at another point. I love that because it's just such a great example of how he really kind of owns him in their relationship.
Oh, manipulates him to his advantage constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the woman playfully rejects Jack as he's hitting on her. And we see Gil swinging the little girl around by her arms. and Jack, of course, Gil, stop playing with her and get over here. So they're greeted now, this group, by Mayor Lepescu, and that's Jeffrey Jones. Okay, so this is Turkeyverse connection, by the way. He was in Ravenous and Howard the Duck, which we've covered on the show. Personal life aside, fantastic comedic actor. This was around the time he did Ferris Bueller, and
same year, isn't it?
Howard the
85.
Mm-hmm,
I want to say 85. Isn't that the same year?
I think it was. So happy that he popped up in this because he's so good at comedy. He's so pleased with himself as the mayor of this town, and it comes across. He tells them about their famous wine festival. He's so excited about it. Jack, of course, under his breath, comments as soon as the wine festival's mentioned, he leans over toward Elizabeth and he goes, great, we can get drunk together. Like, bro, she just shot you down.
Yeah, he definitely isn't lacking for, but can you blame him? Of course, he's oozing confidence. He's Jeff Goldblum.
I know that moppy head of hair of his would be just off-putting and gross to me on anybody else, but I just want to run my fingers through it when I look at him.
I mean, they'll get stuck, but still, I have to stop and say, Teresa Ganzel, the actress who plays Elizabeth here, what a delight she is. She has such an interesting and unique voice. She has such a beautiful face. Those giant sunglasses. You have to put sunglasses that big on someone when they have such big, gorgeous eyes. Like, she is just so lovely, and she plays off Jeff Goldblum perfectly. They have really cute chemistry, and she just, every time I see her pop up in a movie, she strikes me as kind of a Marilyn Monroe thing, where you want to peg her as the dumb blonde, but she's got your number. I love that about her. So I think she's perfectly cast, and she's just adorable in this movie.
I have nothing to add to that. I 100% agree with you. Yes, yes, and yes.
But back to Jeffrey Jones, the mayor, because another little running joke, him saying things that he thinks are these genius, hilarious quotes that Americans will understand, and that he gets them wrong. I love it. Like, wind up and pitch, and he knocks it out of the park every time. It's so funny.
Yes, he mentioned that happens quite a bit in the movie, and I wrote them all down, but this one's my favorite because of what happens immediately following his delivery of the line. So the mayor says the festival lasts until, how do you Americans say? Until the cows go home. And he laughs because he's so proud of himself that he knew that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite part is Jack and Elizabeth muttering under their breath, I never say that. Do you say that? I never say that. And they all start to walk off. And you get Gil, Ed Begley, not realizing they've all walked off, and he's still talking. He goes, I say it once in a while, but I certainly don't say it in anything other than a whimsical way. And then he looks up and realizes there's nobody listening to him. It's so funny to me.
I wonder, is it in the script, or is it just a character choice that Ed Begley Jr. made, that this guy is just a child, who has this very rich inner world and it is constantly having these moments of confusion where he has to externalize the dialogue that's happening inside his head when he's confused about something. Is that just him being brilliant or is it in the script? I don't know, but either way it works. He just pulls that off so beautifully. It's so funny.
I want to say, I think you're right. I think it's him because the bedroom scene, he does kind of the same thing, and we'll get to it. I think you're right.
I think it's just him being brilliant. I really do.
I do too. So inside the hotel now, Jack continues to stalk and force himself upon Elizabeth. She is seemingly not interested, and he oversteps the boundary, looks at her name in the book, tries to follow her to when she's getting checked into her room. It's like, calm down.
He's which honestly, if you look at it, you can see why he's probably a very good investigative journalist because he keeps poking, keeps prodding, keeps looking, will not take no for an answer. But when you're a man, a heterosexual man who is trying to do that to a female who has said no thank you, then it borders on, you know, it's a little
creeptastic at that point.
Yeah, he's a bit of a, I don't want to say it's rapey, but that's what the kids today would say. He's a little rapey. He's giving rapey vibes. Like, back off. She said no, let it go, but he won't. And there aren't many people who could pull off still being cute and charming while behaving that way. But Jeff Goldblum, God bless him, he's one of them.
So Gil gets left alone at the check-in desk now, and he leans into the clerk real quiet-like and asks the man, "Is there anything happening around here?" And the man misunderstands him, and he's like, I don't know if it's a language barrier or if he gets asked this a lot at a foreign hotel, but he goes, "Oh, you want a woman?"
I think this man understands English perfectly, and Ed Begley Jr. is not communicating what he's after correctly. I would make the same mistake if he leaned into me and said, "Hey, is there anything happening around here?" I would probably think the same thing this hotel clerk is thinking. He's not being very clear.
Well, yeah, so then Gil says, "Well, are there any strange goings on?" The man goes, "You want something kinky?" It's so good. Gil's like, no, no, no. I've heard stories about Frankenstein. The man is so amused by this, and I will put a clip of this in here because it's fucking hilarious because we won't do it justice. The man is so amused by this that he calls the maid over and asks if she's seen Frankenstein. She laughs, this weird, high-pitched laugh, gets the mayor involved, who starts laughing in this weird, deep snort, and they go in harmony together.
It's like a ping pong going back and forth with her and this hyena laugh and then him with the snort, and the way it just spreads around the room. It is so funny. And what the cherry on it is the look on Ed Begley Jr.'s face. Just the absolute utter humiliation that he is experiencing. And I'm always just laughing, cackling the entire scene. I can't help myself.
Did Frankenstein. Utah.
Yes, Danko.
Have you seen Frankenstein lately?
Frankenstein? I don't think so. Oh, Mayor?
No, don't bother the mayor. Please don't.
Somebody's asking about the Frankenstein. Frankenstein?
Yeah, Jack's coming back in the room and Gil's like, I was asking about Frank Sinatra, really? Jack's like, what the hell is happening? And then, yeah, Gil has to explain what happened. So as they're getting ready to leave, the mayor suddenly quickly gets serious and he leans over and he goes, wait, this is Transylvania. Don't you want to ask us about Dracula? And everyone starts busting out laughing. And poor Jack and Gil, they're trying to get the fuck out of the room, and the mayor keeps stopping him. He's like, wait, don't you want to talk about the creature from the Black Lagoon?
Yeah, they've become the laughing stock of the entire town in 10 minutes of being in it. Well, if you think about it, yeah, I mean, that's like people who were born and raised in Paris rolling their eyes at someone who's walking around, you know, in a beret eating a baguette. You know, like, oh my God, the way that tourists must be so predictable. and it must get so annoying. If you live in Transylvania, well, what used to be Transylvania, come on. I'm sure they're not the first idiot Americans to roll in there looking for monsters, right?
Well, now, especially with all those monster shows and ghost hunting shows and shit. So outside, Jack yells at Gil, calls him an incredible asshole, which is one of those little phrases that I never thought to put those two words together. And it works so well.
Yep. Two of my favorites, incredible asshole and unimaginable bastard. Those two I use frequently.
So they pass a woman on the street who tells her little henchmen, bring them to me. It's a random thing, and then we cut away. Jack and Gil, I keep wanting to say Jack and Jill. Jack and Gil approach the castle that they will be staying in. Gil remarks, it has an ominous aura about it, as they're pulling up. And the music lends to that spooky vibe as well.
It does. There's quite a bit of scored music throughout the movie that I stopped and noticed on this last watch and went, huh. Yes, it's very 80s. It's on a synthesizer, whatever. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It serves the scene really well. There's several moments that are great examples. This is one of them.
So they get out of their taxi, and a large opening soon banner is hanging over the front door. And there's credit card accepted plaques all on the door of what they take. Yeah. Jack, of course, yeah, ominous. He's like super dismissive and sarcastic with Gil about the whole thing. They knock and are greeted by the butler of the castle, Theos, and that is Michael Richards. Just the look on his face through this little porthole in the door, I immediately went, okay, here we go. A lot of his stuff was just do Michael Richards and we'll film it. Like, this is the point you need to make in the scene, go. And they did multiple takes for things.
It shows. It really does, because of, you can tell the way people are reacting to what he's doing, that they have no idea what's about to come out of his mouth. And it's brilliant. Just like with Jeffrey Jones, this movie, several players in the movie where, yes, they've become problematic as people outside of their work. But if you can just appreciate the art, he is brilliant. He has such good comedic timing, and the ideas coming out of his head. Like, I don't know how he thought this stuff up, but it's incredible to watch.
Yeah, and the movie does this weird thing where they set you up with something that you think is a creepy tone, and then all of a sudden goes comedy, or what they think is comedy, because he pops his head up and he's like, yes, you are expected. And you're like, ooh. And then all of a sudden the door creaks open and out pops this little, down on the ground, this baby doll in a robe with a mustache.
It has a goatee. It has a full head of hair. It has an earring. What the actual fuck? I almost wonder if he showed up with this and went, I have an idea. Follow me. And they went, okay. Because I still to this day, when I watch this, I have no freaking idea where this came from, why it's happening. What am I looking at? It is so absurd. And that's where the beauty is. That's what makes it so funny. This little baby doll with a goatee.
And the reaction shots of Goldblum and Begley.
Yeah, because the baby wants to fight them. And you can tell they did not expect this. They've never seen this thing. They don't know what the hell is happening. Are they being pranked, or is this part of what they're doing? And they just try to go with it. It's so stupid. It's so funny.
Agreed. And then when he finally opens the door and the bit ends, he goes, yeah, I'm the talking brute, I think is what he says. What? Watching
it with closed captioning. I don't know if the captioning is correct or if we're correct, but in the captioning, they said token brute. Token. He's the token brute.
Okay.
Okay. He's just there, so they have a brute around. He's the token brute.
So Theos is so pleased with himself. He thinks he's being so funny. And he starts talking to Gil, and he says some gibberish. And at one point, Begley looks up and he goes, do we have a phrase book? Like, I don't speak Transylvanian.
The way that Michael Richards just rolls with him going, I what did you say? I don't understand. And he just keeps getting closer and closer to him as if that's going to help him understand. And I think he's trying to tell him his full name. Maybe he's like trying to get him to say it and pronounce his name, but he's just so befuddled and confused. And if you can see Jeff Goldblum's face in a couple of shots, he is trying not to laugh because this whole moment is so absurd. You can just tell that it's not rehearsed.
So then the mayor pops in, dressed like Pinocchio.
The lederhosen, the boots.
He greets him and says, and not only the mayor, I'm the owner of this castle. He tells them it's like the Americans say, nothing wrong with making a buck. Okay.
I say that all the time. I don't know about you.
I say it, but never in anything more than a whimsical way. So Theos grabs their bags and he trips going up the stairs because he thinks it's going to be comedy gold. I don't know whose funny bone that one hits, not mine, but okay.
No, it's stupid. And there's this little moment where he's like, you can tell he's asking the mayor for permission to do it, and the mayor's like, "Oh, go ahead." Like he's rehearsed this and done it before, and he's like, "Yeah, do the tripping thing. That's fine."
So we cut to Jack and Gil and the mayor now in the dining hall, and there is some crazy beaker science setup going on, which is the juice service on the table. I want one of those so bad. But they're probably a bitch to clean.
I want to stay in this hotel. Every little detail making it spooky and horror movie-esque. It's so cute. I think the mayor is onto something. I think the hotel's going to be a moneymaker for sure if they can get rid of the monsters.
This is the perfect time to say that because the mayor right now points out to them this is a theme hotel, just like Disneyland, only it's themed to Transylvanian lore. I would argue it's nothing like Disneyland, but there's no rides, but okay. So he wants to prove to them, I wanted you here because I want to prove that there are no scary monsters. The only monster is the phone bill. And he's so proud of himself that he made that joke. That's before they had affordable cell phone plans. See, this was bad time to call long distance to Transylvania. It's my operator, get me TL 65000. So Jack asks if they're expecting to be very busy once they open to the public, and the mayor says, as you Americans say, we'll have to beat them off with a rake.
I don't know about you, but I often find myself wanting to beat people with a rake.
I say beat people off, but the rake makes more sense.
I'm going to beat people off with a rake.
So the mayor calls for Radu, and this is John Byner, who is comically, I feel like his performance is so subtle that it's probably the best comedic performance in the movie because it's so subtle.
Which is really hard to do when almost every actor, we can't say enough about what comedic geniuses they are. It does feel like you're watching a Mel Brooks film for that reason. Everywhere you look, it's stacked with brilliant improvisational comedic actors. He is no exception. He is so good at being the straight man and being the one that can't handle all the nonsense happening, especially when you're going to pair him with the lovely Carol Kane. Who better to play off of her insanity than someone who is this good at just keeping it all inside?
And his facial expressions, to me, you get the whole picture just from his face.
Yes.
Usually in every scene. So he's a man shorter in stature. He's slightly hunched over, dressed very formally, much like Theos. He calls the mayor master. And as it turns out, we find he calls everybody master. Yes, master. No, master. So the mayor asks Radu to please bring them lunch. So he goes to the kitchen. This is where we get the improv kitchen scene. Apparently on the script, it said, Radu and Loopy prepare lunch. That's all it said on the page.
Not surprised. Not surprised. And when I watch this scene, I'm thinking this is like Three Stooges level physical comedy, and the timing is brilliant, and the way they play off each other, and neither one of them breaks character or what they're doing or does anything that the other person reacts as if, hey, that doesn't make any sense. No, they are both so in it, and it's just like this is a comedy masterclass, this scene between these two.
Yeah, Carol Kane as his wife is so damn adorable, and really I felt like watching her in this is like Carol Kane prime, like in her prime. She was peak adorable, peak hilarious, just with it every step of the way. So I know a lot of the time dissecting and trying to make sense of a movie can take away from making it so enjoyable. And for a lot of people, and my co-host, now Dave points that out to me a lot, but I feel like dissecting this movie does it favors, because in this lunch scene, if you watch every little, like you just said, they play off each other so well, every little fucking thing they do. I mean, when he's like, I need grapefruits, and you hear him say, get me 3, and she's like, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And she's just chucking them over her shoulder. All the little things, right?
Yes, it makes you feel like there's a structure. They were given an outline of how the scene should play out, and then they just went in there and made up every single thing that they're doing and made up all the dialogue, and it's just brilliant improvisational comedy. The thing with the grapefruits, and she goes to start cutting it, and he just grabs a knife and says, "You don't cut anything." And the way he looks at her, like, there have been incidents in the past. You really believe that these two have been married a long time and that they bicker like this every day. It's so funny the way she wants to help him, help him, help him. And she's constantly taking things from him, which is not helpful, so that she can hand it back to him, which is helpful. Like, it's so absurd. It's so silly. And when you look at it and realize it's really just coming out of their brains at the moment, like they're so in the moment, you just shake your head and like, it's a comedy masterclass. It really is. It's so funny.
So my two favorite things in this is when she's following him real close, going, yes, master, and he goes, hey, I'm not your master, you're my wife. She goes, that's right, I'm your wife, master. And the way she's looking at him, like she just is so in love with him. And at the end, when he's trying to leave, and she's like, I'll be nude when you get back. Like, ooh, come back to the kitchen. I 100% buy their relationship.
Yep.
And it was funny because the captioning said lewd, L-E-W-D. I'll be lewd.
I noticed that too. And I was like, that's what makes me question the token brute, talking brute. I think maybe sometimes the people who do the captioning are wrong and I hear it better. But I definitely heard the word nude.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. You heard it when you were 10. You knew.
And you can picture how many times a week does this poor guy walk into the kitchen and she's in there naked or half naked waiting for him. And he's like, to do, what are you doing? Like, it just, you get the best picture of what their relationship is like just from this brief couple of minutes. And you go straight from this scene, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, into my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Radu serves lunch to everybody, and Feos leans in and starts messing with Gil. I guess because he senses he's more open and gullible, maybe? I've watched this movie so many times that there are times when I will only watch Goldblum in this scene and I don't take my eyes off of him. And that's almost more fun than watching the action between Feos and Gil. He does the smell this bit. Hands him the cream, hands him the sugar. Smell this, smell everything. It's good. And Goldblum is giggling like a schoolgirl the whole fucking time.
Because it is like so many other things. It's absurd. It's so stupid. It's so out of context. It has nothing to do with anything. Why is he wanting him to smell everything? Just the way that Michael Richards obviously decided to play with Ed Begley Jr. because he loves their rapport. And he could see in that earlier scene that this works really well. I love the way you react to what I'm doing. And he just is going for it again. Why would you get in Jeff Goldblum's face doing this? It wouldn't work. He wouldn't react the same way. It's beyond brilliant. It's so stupid. My favorite is when he picks up the ashtray. Smell the glass. Just smell the glass. It's good. It's good. I say that all the time. Whenever somebody smells something is good, smell this. This is good. My kids do it. They're 23 years old. They're totally Gen Zers. They do it. Smell these. This is good. All because of this stupid moment that does not belong in this movie. It doesn't belong anywhere.
It doesn't belong in life, but thank God it exists.
It's so funny.
So my favorite part of your favorite scene is the throwaway bit right at the end here.
The grapefruit?
You almost miss it. He's cutting into the grapefruit and it kind of gets him in the eye. And Feos laughs and he goes, you got it in your eye. Do it again. If you're not really paying attention, it goes really quick. So then the phone rings and it's a super catchy Transylvania 65000, Pennsylvania 65000 riff. Feos is going over to answer. The phone looks like a dinosaur, like a lizard flip phone. Yeah. And teeth and everything on the receiver, which seems unsafe to put by your ear.
That seems wildly unsafe.
And it keeps ringing even after he picks it up, which I think is hilarious also. Like, once you flip it open, shouldn't it stop ringing?
Phone.
Transylvania 65000.
The mayor takes this call, and Feos goes over to Gil and asks, hey, did you hear the one about the surgeon and the lobotomy? You know la bother me, I know la bother you. It's not funny, but the fact that he goes, it's funny at his own joke makes me laugh.
Well, yeah, because it's just stupid. And once again, the looks on their faces, the way they respond, you can tell he has not told them this joke before. It's news to them. They have not heard this before. And right around this time in the movie is when you see this little cuckoo clock on the wall. Except it's not a cuckoo clock. It's like a werewolf that pops out and howls.
I want one.
I want one. I want one too. Let's get matching werewolf cuckoo clocks, please.
So Radu goes back in the kitchen and Loopy jumps on his back. And he says, you need to let me do my work. And he grabs a dish of mince, which I thought was weird because they're still in the middle of eating lunch. Why do they need their mince? She jumps in front of him and asks for a kiss goodbye before he leaves the room. I love that so much, especially the way she says it. So the mayor says, now I've got to go into town, tells the men, feel free to inspect the castle, find out for yourself. There's nothing weird going on here. Gil turns to Jack and asks, can I suggest something? Jack goes, you do suggest something. A baboon. I love that. So the mayor starts eavesdropping as Gil tells Jack they need to visit the chapel where the film was taken. They need to visit the newspaper and they need to start investigating their story. So Gil goes to the Transylvania Times offices and is looking through some books there. Then he goes to the old building, which he calls a chapel, where that video was taken. It's a really small little cylindrical building and it's got like a single crypt inside. And I was like, this is weird. This is
I can't tell if that's a crypt or it almost looks like an ancient pulpit where a preacher or religious figure would stand and give their sermon, or
oh, maybe
that's what it kind of looks like. It might be my guess is this is an actual old building and they just tried to pass it off as a church or a chapel because everything seems like it's real locations and like they didn't have the budget to build sets or create the buildings that they needed, so they just found it and said, this will work.
Yeah, that's true. I think you're right. So there's this metal chandelier with candles thing that comes loose and almost hits Gil as he's getting ready to leave this chapel. He gets startled by a man standing there who says he is Inspector Perchek. This guy, I guess he's the chief of police, Inspector Perchek. I guess they call them that there, Inspector. They have a quick back and forth and Gil runs off. We see the mayor is hiding there behind the building because he peeks out in a very comical, like, tips straight the fuck out. Like a Peter Sellers kind of lean.
Yep.
Back in his room, Jack is on the phone with Elizabeth. Another monster head phone. This one's worse than the other one. It's just all monster head for the part you put on your ear. And it has a 20-foot cord. It's the longest telephone cord in history, I think I've ever seen. It's so crazy. And it's clearly because he had to be able to walk around the room. So I did see, again, some production notes for this scene in the bedroom. All it said was that Jack and Gil have X conversation, whatever their lines are, and they had to do all the blocking themselves and figure out all the physical movement in this scene by themselves. Like the whole knocking on the door bit, the whole thing. I think that reads. I think you can tell they just know each other and they know what works and they came up with this and it's great.
It's so stupid. I love how petty Jeff Goldblum's character is. Wanting him to knock on the door, and then the way that Ed Begley Jr. is playing that childlike naivete where he's like, you have to say, who is it? And just him not understanding Jeff Goldblum is just trying to get rid of him. It's so funny. It works so well. And like you pointed out, the long phone cord was because they didn't quite know what they were going to come up with and do. So you had to be able to just move around because they're trying to figure out physically what they're doing in the scene. It plays so well. It's so funny. Him just the way he keeps going in and out and in and out again and telling him you forgot to say who is it? Like he won't come in until he says it. It's so stupid.
And this whole time he's been trying to ask Elizabeth out to dinner, and she finally gets so frustrated with the hold on bullshit with Jack that she just hangs up on him. Honestly, I was like, why is she even giving him the time of day? She wasn't interested earlier, but who knows? So Gil finally gets to come in the room. He's angry at this point. And he tells Jack his news that he couldn't find anything. However, I did meet the chief of police at the chapel and he tried to kill me, which is It's not really what happened.
Did he though?
He does point out he found an article at the newspaper on a Dr. Malavakwa who lost his license to practice. And Jack goes, so what? My doctor lost his license to practice. I just wonder if that was off the cuff because it's so good.
Probably. And some of the banter that has nothing to do with nothing during this conversation that they're having, where he tells him, you know what, you constantly are making things up. I don't believe you. And the example he gives is that Gil was supposed to find people who look like their pets, but instead he just found people who look like animals and gave them pets. And he says it so fast that you miss it if you're not really paying attention. It's so funny.
And I like that Gil's like, same thing.
Yeah.
It's really not.
How is that different? Yeah.
So Gil says, well, we just need to go to the old age home where Malavakwa is, and we need to see what's going on over there. So they start to argue. Feos comes in and says, I've got a message for you guys. He's holding this little envelope. He says an old gypsy man delivered it. Ooh, we get ominous for a second. You're like, ooh, what's going on? He puts out his hand for Jack to take the letter, and he takes it, and the whole hand comes out. And they go, ah.
The best part is how they react in unison. It's so funny.
So Gil rushes Feos out of the room saying, this is bad time. Feos says, wait, I want to show you something. And he throws a fake leg up in the door and screams. It's so funny.
My favorite part is how they throw him and the leg out and then he sticks it in again, but it's up at the top of the door where no man could ever get his actual leg. Like, he really thinks this might work a third time. Now, come on.
And when he shoves him out, you hear him go, ah, like he really falls.
Another running bit in the movie, it happens several times when you hear somebody fall or get injured and the movie just carries on, the conversation keeps going as you hear somebody getting hurt off. I don't know why, but it's the stupid humor.
Yeah.
It gets me every time.
So Jack reads the letter and it says, laughter conceals fear, and the wheel of truth has many spokes. The answer you seek lies with Madame Morovia. Gil gets very excited and he goes, gypsies. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. A touch of the old world. I love how excited he is. And that's another testament to Begley. Like, just his facial expression is so perfect.
Yeah, that childlike excitement that he just is exuding. And it makes you wonder, did his father send him on this story just to shut him up and get rid of him, knowing he'd have a great time running around chasing monsters?
I want that job.
Right? Yeah, go over there someplace.
Cut to Madame Morovia. She is running her hands over a big round light circle in the middle of the table. It kind of looks like a crystal ball, but not. It's just a light. Okay, so Jack and Gil are sitting here, and as she's talking, you just watch their face. And I watch this over and over because Bagley is nodding his head along with what she's saying, so into it, looks like he's really listening. And then he'll stop for a second and look at Jack. And Jack's like, uh-huh, like with a sarcastic, big wide-eyed expression, big eyes. And then Gil goes back to listening. Like it's so silly.
The way that he just makes these faces all of a sudden like, oh, yeah, good point. And what she's saying makes no fucking sense at all. I can't help myself. Like, I can't get over his facial expressions, the way that he's able to convey so much without saying anything. It's so silly, the way that he's fully along for the ride now with what this woman is saying, because it's not helpful at all.
No. And then she finally gets to a point, which is her point, what she wants. She says, you have to seek out a werewolf and destroy him. She says, the police laugh, so I need your help because they won't help me. He goes by the name Lawrence Malbut. He is my son. I thought that was funny because you're one letter off of Talbot. Well, they couldn't use Talbot? I guess not, but okay. So she tells them, I need to sleep now. You need to go, I need to sleep. And she puts her head down and breaks the fucking table with her head.
And then in comes her little henchman with a brand new table. I love it. Like, she does this every time and he's just always ready with another table.
And it looks the same too, like ornate carvings on the table, the light in the middle, like the whole thing.
Yep. And the minute he sets it down, she just puts her hands on it and starts saying the same bullshit she was saying to them.
Life has run its course. Do you know that in high school, right after this movie came out and I saw it, we had to do a bit in one of my elective classes. Maybe it was a psychology class or something. And we had to do a scene. And me being the ham that I was, I did a Madame Morovia. I did like a fortune teller talking to the other people in the skit at my little magic crystal ball. And mom had to dress me up in like a gypsy with the whole thing. And it was so absolutely fun. And it's from this. I got it from this.
And I guarantee you, nobody had any idea what you were doing or where it came from.
Nope, not a clue. They thought I was brilliant and made it up all on my own. So that worked in my favor, right? A for me. So later that night, they they go to this man's house and they're waiting for him outside. There's a full moon. And I love the little banter that they're having because Gil's like, we've got to catch this werewolf. And Jack's like, what are we going to ask him? Are you a loner or do you go out in a pack?
Yeah, where is the journalistic value in finding a man who is supposedly a werewolf? What are you going to ask him? It's not exactly hard-hitting news.
So this man who looks like he's maybe in his 50s comes out of the house, and this is our writer-director, Rudy DeLuca, as Lawrence Malbut. They follow him, he gets away from them, and then they come across these bushes that are moving, and they hear grunting and growling noises. They move them out of the way quickly and shine a flashlight, and it's the man on top of the woman, but we only see them from the waist up, and they are fully clothed. And he looks up at them, and he's like, who sent you, my wife? And Gil says, I'm so sorry, we thought you were an animal. And the woman goes, he is.
So stupid.
It is stupid. And this scene was cut for PG-13 rating because apparently he is supposed to shine that flashlight. He does. They filmed it right on Rudy DeLuca's naked ass.
Oh, well, I don't think anybody needed to see that. So I think the movie's better for it. I don't need nude butt.
Agreed. And also, no offense, but this man, I mean, if it's Goldblum's butt, fine. I'm good without seeing Rudy's ass.
Same.
And then we even get the line later where he goes, you had to shine the light right on his ass. And I was like, did he? They cut it. So back in Jack's room, he's getting ready to go out. He tells Gil, tomorrow you go see the doctor. And when you don't find anything, we can leave. Like Jack's over it at this point. Then we cut to Jack and Elizabeth out at dinner in this quaint little, almost looking like an Italian restaurant. I love the little checkered tablecloths and the whole aura about it. She is regaling Jack with a tale of how she narrowly escaped her abusive ex-husband by smashing a wine bottle over his head.
Which we soon come to find out is her favorite form of violence.
Right? We were warned. Jack was warned. We were all warned. So they get interrupted, their conversation, by the band leader and his little wandering musicians. And this guy reminded me of Ron Burgundy. And he asks them, are you local people or just pissing through?
Yes, they're just pissing through.
I love it. And Elizabeth says, well, I'm from New York. He goes, New York. We know this one. Hit it, boys. And they start playing that song. It's so funny. And he's singing, start spreading the... And he's all, New York, New York. Oh, I love it. And Jack's like, oh, yeah. They're happy people with their jorks. They're jorks. Or is it Elizabeth that says that?
I think it's Elizabeth that says that, yeah.
Oh,
aren't they
so
such happy people with their jorks?
So after they leave, she says to Jack, hey, I can't imagine why you're here. What's going on? And Jack reluctantly reveals that he is there to investigate a Frankenstein story. She laughs and makes fun of it for a second and then immediately gets up and leaves.
I love it. It's like it's the first Tinder date. The minute something crazy comes out of his head, she's like, I'm gone. And she just gets up and walks away. All that crazy shit she was telling him about her ex-husband and the wine bottle and the whole thing. But him being there to investigate a Frankenstein story, that's where she draws the line. That's enough. She's out.
I don't think he left the table because he was happy that all of the effort this whole time he's put into getting a fucking date with her and he finally got it. So he wasn't about to let a wine bottle story scare him off.
Right. But then he goes and blows it by, telling her what he's doing there, which is ridiculous. She has every right to laugh at him and walk away. She didn't want to go out with him in the first place.
Yeah, he wore her down. which I will say men have figured out works a lot of the time, sadly. So we cut to the castle. Gil is sleeping, and in between a series of great subtle camera panning shots, we get introduced to a female vampire, and this is Gina Davis, looking fucking phenomenal. I'd do her. That's how good she looks. I'm straight, I'd do her. She's hot in this movie.
Right? Yeah, like that costume is totally unnecessary. It's one of the most ridiculous things in the movie. You know, it's very gratuitous. I'm sure she probably took one look at it and went, really? Like, fine, whatever. But it doesn't matter. It takes so much balls for a woman to walk around wearing that. I love her. I love how confident she is. And it's so stupid and silly what she's doing, but she just does it with this ease and confidence. I'm 100% buying it. She can show up in my room and bite me. I'm on the same page as you. Yeah, like I'm 100% straight, but I might go a little gay for Gina Davis in that outfit. It's amazing to look at. Her presence is undeniable.
And she gets closer and closer in each shot as she creeps close to the bed, and she's right over his bed. And he sits up and, senses that she was there and she's not. He starts screaming. Jack comes running in. And I always thought this was funny, and I picked it up when I was young. He runs to the window to open to make sure there's nothing there, and it's bright daylight outside. And so they put in an ADR, they put in a voiceover of him, because you can't see his face, going, "Oh, it's morning already?" And it's like, well, they had to add that because it doesn't make any sense. It was nighttime 5 minutes ago.
Right.
What? So they open the window and they're looking around, and all of a sudden Gil's like, "Wait, do you smell that? That's perfume. I know somebody was here." I love this so much.
Yep. Oh, I know who was here. It's the creature from Estee Lauder.
That's one of the best bits.
Yeah.
Because he's so excited when he says it, like he's mocking him. Because for a second you think he's serious, and then you realize he's totally mocking him. It's so good. So Jack storms out, and poor Gil is so freaked out at this point. This is the scene I was talking about earlier, where he's rolling around in this weird satin sheet situation, but there's this light, like piece of lace, almost like a coverlet thing over him, and it's all getting wrapped up, and he's trying to roll around in it and get comfortable, and he's talking to himself the whole time. "I'm so scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't care if I live or die." Like all this shit he's saying out loud.
Like I said, it seems like he has this internal childlike dialogue that just, he can't help himself. When he's freaking out in one of these moments, he just starts saying it out loud, and it's so silly and stupid. And the way that he's looking under the bed. Tell me you didn't do that as a little kid when you had a bad dream, or if you saw something you shouldn't see on TV, that you'd be laying there in bed trying to find just the right spot and just the right way to pull the covers up where you'll be safe from the monsters.
Yes.
And maybe they're under the bed. Like it's so silly the way that he's freaking out. And it's morning too. That's another question. Sir, why don't you just get up and have some breakfast? What are you doing?
Right?
Still trying to sleep.
He just rolls up like a little burrito with just his little head peeking out.
And starts crying.
Exactly. I think the captioning said sobbing, like in parentheses. Yeah. So later that morning now, we see Radu is cleaning a mirror in a hallway, and Loopy shows up. And I have to tell you this. If you pay attention to the mirror, it's reflecting the background, and there's a brown paneled window. And where the brown paneling sits, you can see in the mirror, there's a spot on the mirror because the brown makes it evident to see in the reflection.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense, you can see the spot because of that brown behind it. And I always watch him wipe, and I think he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. He's going to miss that spot. And Loopy shows up, and she starts going, "Now do over here. Now do over here." And she's pointing to all the spots, and he gets the spot that I was staring at.
And you felt so satisfied.
Every damn time. Because I forget. I'm like, wait, get that spot. Don't miss it.
So I don't know if anybody's keeping a running tally, but this is yet another thing that I still repeat and do to this day when someone is cleaning something in front of me. Particularly my favorite is when I'm in a car and somebody starts cleaning my windshield. My husband will come out and clean my windshield, and I'll start doing this. Now do over here. Now do over here. My kids still do it. My husband does it. Like we all quote this and do this all the time because it just lives in your head. It's so funny.
Right? The phrase that the kids use now, it lives in my head rent free. This whole movie pretty much does.
Yep.
So then when he's done doing that, he turns around and that window I was talking about with the wood paneling, Loopy appears outside the window saying, do over here, do over here.
She climbed outside on the ledge just so she could keep helping him. She's the
It's so
MVP of the
good.
movie.
It's so good. She just wants him to do a good job because she loves him so much, as she's saying. And Gil walks up and slams the window and she falls.
And immediately Gil and Radu start talking and you hear her falling. It sounds like from a pretty good height and there's commotion and kerfuffle happening. I fucking love that. It makes me laugh every time, the way that they don't even care that she fell and you can hear it happening, but they just move on with their lives.
She lands in chickens.
Yeah, you can hear the chickens start making little chicken noises.
It's perfect.
That poor thing.
And then I can go back to the parent guide and I'm like, oh, okay, violence is played for laughs because she falls from the window into chickens. It's pretty funny. So Gil asks Radu if he's seen the mayor. And then they have a little funny back and forth about Radu not needing to call Gil master, but then he does. Gil goes down and finds the mayor having breakfast. The mayor's using a mini guillotine to cut his hard-boiled eggs open, and all the little eggs have a skull and crossbones on them. It's so good. I wanted them to look more like Weebles, though, and have like faces that were getting chopped off.
This is yet another thing that makes me think I would totally pay money to stay at this hotel. I want somebody to serve me hard-boiled eggs with skulls and crossbones drawn on them, and I want to chop them open with a guillotine. And the little, chemistry lab with the coffee and the juice and everything. It's cute. Transylvania is cute.
It is, and this ought to pack them in, as you Americans say. I mean, it would pack me. I would go. So Gil asks the mayor if they are the only guests in the hotel right now, and the mayor says, yeah, we don't open officially for another month or so. And Gil says, okay, well, I'm off to town. And he steps out and is met outside by Feos, who shows him the slipping on a banana peel trick. And then tries to get Gil to do it, but Gil doesn't want to do it. It's so good.
This whole scene, yeah. This is the scene that the first time I showed this movie to my daughter, she backed it up and watched it again. She found it that funny at like 14 years old. It's so stupid. Why do you carry a banana peel around in your pocket so that you can throw it out on the ground and go, watch this? And when Feos falls on it for the first time, when the way he falls, it looks like he does a death drop. So I feel like this is the first death drop ever captured in a motion picture. Shangela would be proud. And then when Gil sees it and realizes this is what he's trying to get him to do, he wants him to slip and fall. Now he's just being assaulted because somebody's trying to make you fall. The way he grabs the back of his pants and starts running along with him.
Oh my God. And Feos, as he's holding on to his coat or his pants and they're running off, he just subtly goes, okay, we run. It's like, what? Like he's just into it. He's like, it's fine. All right, listeners, that is going to wrap up part 1 of our fun discussion on Transylvania 65000. If you're interested in checking it out while you're waiting for part 2, at the time of this recording, it is streaming for free on Amazon Prime if you have a subscription. It's on YouTube as well as Flixx and free on Tubi. Be sure and check back next week when we drop part 2 and wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, goodbye.
You creamy?
No, thank you.
No, smell is good.
I can smell it.
It's fresh.
It's very
Smell
fresh. Take it out of there.
No, but it smells good.
Thank you.
No cream? Hey, sugar. You know, this good. It's nice.
Very nice.
You smell that? Smell it. It's good. Yeah. It's good. Smell this. Smell everything. Yeah. You smell this. Smell the glass. That's good.
Hey listeners, Movie Miss here, saying we know you have a lot of options when it comes to podcasts, so we want to thank you so much for listening to ours. Please make sure to find us on our socials and join us, be part of our bad movie conversations. We want to chat with you. We're on Facebook with an official page, as well as a Let's Talk Turkeys discussion group, where you can talk with other like-minded individuals who like bad movies. We're on Instagram at Let's Talk Turkeys. Our Twitter handle is at Gobble Podcast. That's GOBBLEPODCAST. And of course, you can always email us direct. We would love to get suggestions from you of movies you would like us to cover. If you want to be a guest on the show, we would love that. So directly, that's Let's Talk Turkeys, all one word, at yahoo.com.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.